There was naturally a lot of excitement around the appointment of Iraola at Liverpool.
Because obviously there is that excitement to do with the brand of football that he played.
His Bournemouth side played exciting football.
The way that Bournemouth played is exactly how Liverpool want to.
They ran a lot and won games. You know, the complete opposite of Liverpool in the last few months under Slot.
But still it's not good enough. That no matter how much excuses I can come up with, it's still not good enough in the position we're in right now.
But fans have to realize that Iraola has also inherited a squad with some pretty serious problems. The first major problem that Iraola needs to fix is something that he noticed from day one, and that's that Liverpool need to get fitter. Iraola came out and said that his Liverpool players don't have the energy for 90 minutes.
The problem is right now probably they don't have the energy for 90 minutes. They start to get tired, and it will take time.
I guess it kind of makes sense considering this is what Slot's training sessions look like.
4, 3, 2.
For Iraola, this is a massive problem because his entire style of football depends on physical intensity. This guy doesn't want Liverpool pressing for 20 minutes and then calming everything down. He wants them doing it constantly.
We played a really good first half, especially first 30 minutes. But right now, probably we don't have much more in terms of the level required to play like this.
Iraola was heavily influenced by Bielsa.
Marcelo Bielsa, he was your manager at Athletic. When we think about him and yourself, I'm thinking high intensity and physicality.
And you can see that in how demanding his teams are without the ball. They try to make games as uncomfortable as possible for the opposition. And we saw that at Bournemouth. Despite not having anywhere near the resources of the Premier League's biggest clubs, Iraola turned Bournemouth into one of the most physically aggressive teams in England.
In the end, the competition is very high in the Premier League. You have to win very, very good sides, very, very good teams. I came here to change a little bit the style, the way we play, try to be more proactive. We think it will give us more chances, but we have to show it on the pitch.
At one point in the 2024-2025 season, Bournemouth were ranked first in the Premier League for distance covered, and they were second in sprints. This is how he was able to overachieve with his Bournemouth side. It's because they were relentless without the ball, everyone bought into his system, and they were willing to do the dirty work. The problem is that this system only works if the players are willing and physically able to do their jobs. In Iraola's 4-2-3-1, the striker starts to press. Then the number 10 has to jump forward and press alongside him. The wingers aren't allowed to just stand around scratching their balls. They have to sprint backwards and help deal with the opposition fullbacks. The two central midfielders have an enormous amount of space to cover, and behind all of them, Liverpool's defensive line has to push extremely high up the pitch so the entire team stays compact.
Everyone on the ball will have 4 or 5 options running, and it looks very dynamic, and I enjoy it a lot playing, yes.
If even one part of that press stops working, everything can fall apart. That's where the fitness issue becomes so important.
Andoni, are the players ahead, in your opinion, ahead or behind in terms of how you want to create your identity?
I think we are still not there.
Imagine Liverpool presses like maniacs for 60 minutes and then they hit a wall. Because once the forwards get exhausted, then the midfielders become late to the second press, they miss the triggers, and before you know it, an opposition player has gone past that initial press, finds himself in open space, and Liverpool's back line is more open than Bonnie Blue.
Oh shit, here we go again.
So Iraola's style of football is exciting. Yes, but if you lose it, you're going, oh, we're wide open. We're getting done on the counter-attack. We're getting done.
This is why Liverpool probably are not going to look exactly like Iraola's Bournemouth immediately. The players need time to physically adapt. Even his Bournemouth side started slow. Iraola's training staff will have to prepare them for repeated sprints, constant transitions, and the amount of ground they're going to be expected to cover every week. And they also have to be careful, because if Iraola immediately asks players who aren't physically ready to sprint around for 90 minutes every 3 days, you're asking for injuries. So especially early in the season, Iraola is going to have to pick and choose his moments. Maybe Liverpool don't press at maximum intensity for every second of every game. Maybe there are periods where they drop slightly deeper and recover. Maybe he rotates more aggressively during busy weeks. But eventually, the goal has to be for Liverpool to develop the engine required to play Iraola ball for an entire 90 minutes. Because if they can reach the physical levels his Bournemouth team showed, Liverpool could become absolutely horrible to play against. The second major problem is that Iraola needs to fix the defense. Trent left the previous summer and his creativity was never replaced. Frimpong was brought in, but he's a completely different profile and he struggled with injuries and his form in his first season. Connor Bradley is very good, but he's injured. Then in the summer, Ibrahima Konate left as well, and now Virgil van Dijk is getting older. Then next to Van Dijk, there really isn't much proven experience at center back. Liverpool have talented young defenders like Leone and Jacquet, but asking these guys to become major parts of a defense trying to win the Premier League and Champions League right away is still a risk. Then you have the fact that Liverpool still don't have a natural defensive midfielder to protect the back line. It worked in the 2024-2025 season with the double pivot of Gravenberch and McAllister, but last season there were far too many situations where an opponent would beat the first line of pressure and suddenly they were running directly at Liverpool's center backs. That's already dangerous in a normal system. In an Iraola system, it's going to be a complete nightmare. So Liverpool needed another center back who could actually survive in that environment, and their solution was Ronald Araujo. They brought him in on loan from Barcelona, and as I mentioned in the video I made on him, he's a polarizing figure. Physically, he's a monster. He's fast and super strong. He's also great in the air, both attacking set pieces and defending them. He's also extremely aggressive in 1v1 situations. The problem is that he's basically the Darwin Núñez of center backs. On his good days, he's incredible, but on his bad days, he's really bad. And at Barca, he had this tendency to have his worst moments in the biggest games. Everyone remembers the PSG game, then we saw another red card against Chelsea, and that's always been the concern with Araujo. For 80 minutes, he can look like the best defender on the pitch, but for a split second, he will have these bozo moments. People will say it was because of Hansi Flick's super high line that Araujo never looked good in recent seasons, which to an extent is true, but this guy also made mistakes under Xavi, who played with a much deeper back line. The other thing is that Iraola himself uses an aggressive high line, so it's not like Araujo has joined a team that plays a deep low block. Iraola needs his center backs to be aggressive. At Bournemouth, someone like Zabarni was constantly stepping forward, following the attackers into midfield by sticking right on their back and trying to win the ball before the opposition could turn. Araujo can absolutely do that. He has the speed and strength to step out of defense, smash into an attacker, win the ball, and immediately allow Liverpool to attack again. But there's a massive difference between being aggressive and being reckless, especially in Iraola's system. If Araujo steps forward at the wrong moment and misses the ball, there might be like 40 yards of completely open grass behind him. Now he's turning around and chasing a striker towards his own goal, and we've already seen what can happen when Araujo gets desperate in those situations. So Iraola has two jobs here. Firstly, he needs to coach the stupidity out of Araujo's decision making. Then secondly, he has to set up the team in a way that limits Araujo being put into those positions where he has to constantly make decisions on the fly. That means fixing the midfield. If Liverpool can protect him properly, Araujo could actually be the perfect Iraola defender, because sometimes players just need a change in environment to rediscover their form again. The third major problem that Iraola has to fix is getting the best out of all the big money signings that Liverpool made the summer before. Signing Alexander Isak, Florian Wirtz, Jeremy Frimpong, Milos Kerkez, and Ekitike all in the same window was insane. But for different reasons, basically none of them showed their best football last season besides Ekitike. Now these aren't bad players Liverpool suddenly need to replace. We already know how good all of them can be. Iraola just needs to figure out how to get those versions of them back. Starting with Alexander Isak, Liverpool spent £110 million on this guy, and his first season was basically a tax write-off. Injuries completely destroyed any chance of him building momentum, and when he was available, he never really looked comfortable in Liverpool's attack. There were many games where he would barely touch the ball. Isak is at his best when the game is open and when he's getting regular service in the box. You want him running the channels. You want him attacking the space behind defenders. We saw it at the World Cup for Sweden. This guy is still a baller. That's why Iraola could actually be perfect for him. The guy made Ivan Nilsson look like a beast. Imagine what he can do with Isak. Physically, if the man can stay healthy, he has everything needed to succeed. He's quick, he's mobile, incredible on the ball, excellent finishing, and he's so dangerous when he's running towards the goal. Then there's Florian Wirtz, and I'm very curious to see how Wirtz operates in an Iraola system. Liverpool spent a ridiculous amount of money on one of the most talented attacking midfielders in Europe, and then spent large parts of last season playing him as a left winger in a 4-2-3-1. Now yes, he did have some great moments here and there, but considering the quality that we saw from him at Leverkusen, plus the amount of money that was spent on him, there's definitely another level that he can reach. Iraola's quick, direct football should suit Wirtz well. Win the ball high, give it to Wirtz on the half turn, and suddenly he has Isak running behind the defense and wingers flying forward on either side of him. That's heaven for a player like Wirtz. In Iraola's 4-2-3-1, he should have much more freedom as the number 10, because I doubt Liverpool get Barcola and then still play Wirtz on the left, but we will see. He can drift into the half spaces, come deeper to receive the ball, and then immediately look forward. And if Liverpool are constantly creating turnovers high up the pitch, Wirtz is going to receive the ball much closer to goal against defenses that are not properly set. That's where you could finally start seeing the Leverkusen version of Wirtz again. Then you have Frimpong and Kerkez. These are two players where Iraola should be looking at them and thinking, I can easily work with this, especially since he's already worked with Kerkez. Frimpong's first season was constantly interrupted by injuries, so he never really got into a proper rhythm. Kerkez had his own problems adapting in the beginning and times where he looked way too exposed defensively. Both of these guys are ridiculously athletic, and Iraola loves attacking fullbacks. You can immediately imagine Frimpong bombing up and down the right side. This guy spent years at Leverkusen basically playing like a winger anyways. Same thing with Kerkez. Iraola already knows him from Bournemouth. He knows exactly what he's good at, how aggressive he can be going forward, and Kerkez already understands what Iraola expects from his fullbacks. The Spanish dog needs to rebuild the confidence of these players. Liverpool spent like £500 million bringing these guys in, and after one bad season, suddenly people were talking about them like they forgot how to play football. The fourth problem is a pretty obvious one. How the hell do you replace Mohamed Salah? For almost a decade, Liverpool never had to worry about where the goals were coming from. Salah was just going to score. Even when he wasn't playing particularly well, he'd somehow finish the game with a goal or an assist. Guy was a stats merchant, but now he's gone. They have been linked with Barcola, but he's a natural left winger.
But I'm still looking at it, you think, we've got about 4 players who can play left wing, and we're going for Barcola. We haven't got one player who plays right wing in the squad.
Yeah.
It's like,
so Iraola has to find those goals somewhere else. Well, the good thing for Liverpool fans is that his teams have never been built around one superstar scoring everything. Mainly because he's never been at a team that can afford a superstar, but I digress. At Bournemouth and Rayo Vallecano, the goals were spread around like Nutella on some nice juicy butt cheeks. Yes, Krupi had the most goals last season for the Cherries with 13, but they had so many other players popping up with goals like Semenyo before he went to City, Tavernier, Ryan, Alex Scott. That's probably what Liverpool have to become, and it should be easier since Iraola has way better players at his disposal now.
Because of the way Bournemouth play, the way it's really, really high pressing, really aggressive, all about transitions, it's actually quite similar to what Liverpool do when at their best. So is there not an argument that he could just sort of plug in and go with players that are, you know, as good as Bournemouth are? This is a step above there. I think it's actually a really good fit.
Isak was scoring goals for fun at Newcastle. Wirtz was a goals and assist machine at Leverkusen. Ekitike balled out even in a bad season for the Reds. Don't forget stupid sexy Szoboszlai from midfield. Now that Salah is gone, all of these guys have to step up. Of course, Liverpool need to eventually get a high quality right winger, but for now, they have the quality to begin the post-Salah era. The final problem that Iraola has to deal with might be the most difficult one because it has nothing to do with tactics or the players. It's simply a question of, can he handle the pressure of managing Liverpool?
He's going to make mistakes because he's not managed the European campaign. How does he rotate? Does he rotate in the 12:30 game on a Saturday after the away game on a Wednesday night? Does he stay over with the team? Does he come straight back after the game? These are all these things I remember as a player that players would be complaining about to managers and staff. And if you've never really had it before, you haven't got like, this is my way of doing it, you're still learning on the job.
Every job Iraola has had before this came with nowhere near the expectations he's going to face at Anfield. Mirandes, Rayo Vallecano, and Bournemouth all gave him something Liverpool simply cannot give him, and that's time. The perfect example is what happened when he first arrived at Bournemouth. Iraola didn't win any of his first 9 Premier League games. At Liverpool, if you go 9 games without a win, the media is going to make your ass look like the Japanese flag.
You go 3 or 4 games without a win at Bournemouth, no one notices outside of Bournemouth. Yeah. A lot of people in Bournemouth don't notice. You know, do it at Liverpool.
Yeah.
It's a question.
But Bournemouth could afford to be patient. They weren't expecting Iraola to challenge for the Premier League or even get European football. They wanted to stay in the Prem, improve, and hopefully build something over time. And eventually that patience paid off. The players got fitter and became more comfortable playing his aggressive style. Bournemouth went from looking like they might be in serious trouble to becoming one of the most annoying teams in the Premier League to play against. And they got European football. Liverpool are not going to give him 9 or 10 games to figure it out, especially if he's not winning the majority of these games. That's just the reality. The only reason the Dutch Lex Luthor got so much time in his second season was because the man literally won the league the season before. So Iraola might have to be slightly more careful than he was at Bournemouth. He probably can't just walk into Anfield, tell everyone to press like maniacs for 90 minutes, and hope they eventually figure it out. Because while they're figuring it out, Liverpool still have to win games. But he also can't go too far in the opposite direction, because Liverpool hired him because of the work he had done at Bournemouth. They want the pressing, they want the aggression, they want the vertical football. So he has to somehow change the way Liverpool play while also getting enough results to buy himself the time needed to make those changes. And then there's the man management side. At Bournemouth, Iraola has a squad full of players desperate to prove themselves. Now he's managing superstars, players who cost over £100 million. Can Iraola manage all of these egos while getting them to play his brand of football? And can he do all of that while the entire football world is watching him? Only time will tell. To see Iraola's journey and how he became Liverpool's manager, you have to watch this documentary I made right here.